Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Rise Up, Ignite Your Life, Voices from the Frontline. This is our episode 2 of season 4, and I thought it would be a really great follow-up to last week's guest, our pastor and chaplain, Ken Noble, to bring you another faith-inspired guest who has struggled through her own journey defeating post-traumatic stress and has put together a unique set of tools and resources that she shares with the world to help inspire and heal others. So today's guest, Sherry Miller, is author of the book God Can Calm the Chaos, which of course is available on Amazon. And we're going to talk with her about her journey and her mission and what she's doing to heal the community. Please welcome Sherry Miller. Hello.
Hi, Krista. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. We're very, very happy to offer resources for our folks, and most of our audience is military or first responders and their families, to give them resources that give them choice, because so many times they're told to take a pill and that's the cure for everything that they're struggling with. And we want people to know that they have a lot more power than that, and they have a lot more resources available than that. So when I met you, I was really excited about your book and the program that you're creating around it. So let's talk first a little bit about what inspired you, what brought you to the place that you felt you needed to write a book.
Okay, well, PTSD is a funny beast. You can have PTSD for years and years and years, or at least the symptoms of or the causes of, and not even know it. And then all of a sudden, a trigger just sets it off. For me, the trigger was my mother's death. I had been medicating myself with food, stuffing, fat, but it kept all of the shame and all of the secrets at bay, tucked very neatly down inside me. Things I had never faced, things I'd never talked about out loud. And it was mostly from her that I could not tell her these things. And so I think it all hit the surface after her death. All of a sudden, I had all these feelings and memories that I thought, were long ago forgotten. So I just had this flood that I didn't know what to do with. I had to deal with my father's suicide when I was 5 years old. I was repeatedly molested when I was 10 years old, raped when I was 20. And all of those I had, neatly tucked away. And all of a sudden, they were on the surface. And with them on the surface came a whole new set of behaviors that I was just devastated. I didn't know how to deal with. I had very disturbing dreams. I was subject to panic attacks, and paranoia just ran rampant for me. I was scared all the time, thinking someone was going to get me. Eventually, I had a nervous breakdown and ended up in a hospital program. And the hospital program centered on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. They've adapted those steps to be used in so many, many different ways. And they did bring me through. I had always had a faith in God. But before this nervous breakdown, or actually, I think it was a big cause of the nervous breakdown, I totally lost my faith. I had asked God many millions of times to fix me, to make me better. For me, mostly that meant make me thin. I just thought if the outside looked okay, the rest would be okay too. And that's not the case. And so I felt like God had abandoned me. And I just couldn't imagine going on without Him in my life and Him as a support. And so, I ended up, like I say, in the hospital. And the 12-step program helped me to restore my faith, which was a real godsend and, put me back in shape, so to speak. But when I got all done, and really, are we ever done? Never. But, when I got to a point, I was like, okay, God, is this it? Is it everything I've gone through? Was it just for this? There must be something more. Other people are suffering. I'm sure you didn't go through all of this with me just to fix me. And so that your audience understands, I'm working on a phone because we couldn't get my internet working on the other. So excuse me while I pull up a book in front of me here. The one thing that kept me going was this Bible verse. It's from Philippians 3, verses 13 and 14. It says, "One thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." This gave me permission to let go of the past and to just live in the present and to let go of that past. Now, letting go of that past wasn't necessarily easy. And I developed a whole lot of tools that are featured in my book that can help you get past the point of anger and frustration and get to the point of forgiveness. And some are really focused on self-love, because many of us have done things in our life that we're not proud of, and our self-worth has gone in the toilet with it. And then the other thing that kept me going was the promise of peace. Also in Philippians, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Through working the 12 steps and putting my hands in God's life, I truly today experience that peace. It's a peace that's down deep inside, and it doesn't matter what chaos is going on around me. I am at peace no matter what. In the last year, I've had cancer. My husband and I were involved in a lawsuit. My daughter has had health problems. And none of those were fun. But I didn't worry. I didn't stress. That peace that God has given me is such a gift. And I just relish that gift every single day, because it doesn't seem to matter what chaos goes on. I still am at peace inside. Yes, I still have to deal with that chaos, but God gives me the tools to do that. One more Bible verse. I have learned to be content in whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. This was written by Paul, and he was in prison when he wrote that, and yet he could still say that he was content. And I have chosen to take on that mantle as well. And so, by the time I got to all of this, I'm finally getting back to your question of why did I write the book? One more Bible verse came at me when I said, God, this can't just be for me. What is the long term here? And he brought me to this Bible verse in 1 Corinthians. It's 2 Corinthians. It says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God." So he was telling me, Sherry, you're right. I didn't do it just for you. Now I want you to go help others. So the help that you've received, share that with others. Share your experience, your strength, and your hope. And let them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that there is a goodness in this life here, no matter what the past is, no matter what. I know a lot of your guests are military, and my PTSD is not military. When I tell people I have dealt with PTSD, they always ask, "Oh, what branch of the military were you in?" And I say, just a terrible childhood. Although it wasn't all bad, but still, my father's suicide, the molestation, the rape, they left scars. And, I really am a proponent for people dealing with issues immediately. When something happens, if you can deal with it right away, you have a good chance of getting past it and not building all kinds of terrible walls around you. And but the longer you let it go, the harder it is to bring that wall down. For me, it was like 30, 40 years later. And it took a lot to bring those walls down, and a lot for me to even say out loud the things that had happened to me. I do want to say a word about therapy. I do believe that professionals have a real good place in this, and that we, should rely on them as much as we can. But my experience with the professionals was they helped me to understand why I was doing the behaviors I was doing. They helped me to understand how my father's suicide had affected me, how my eating behaviors centered around the molestation. If I was fat, I wasn't worthy. No man would want me. If I was thin, then I was at risk. I was going to be taken advantage of. I was thin when I was molested. I was thin when I was raped. When I was fat, I felt like I was safe. And the therapist helped me to put all that together. But for the most part, all they really helped me to do was know who to blame. Now I knew I could blame my mother, I could blame my father, I could blame, my molester, I could blame. And but that didn't excuse the behaviors. There's another Bible verse that I don't have in front of me, but it says, when I was a child, I acted as a child. Now I'm an adult and I need to act like an adult. Those behaviors came about in my childhood because I didn't know any better. I didn't have any other tools to work with. But as an adult, I had to say, regardless of how I got this way, regardless of how those things came about, I have to take responsibility for my actions today. And so I did. And when God first put it on my heart to write this book, I was like, no, God, no, I am not an author. This is not something I can do. This is not in my wheelhouse. And I pushed him away and I pushed him away. And then I would go to bed and I'd have a dream and I would write a whole chapter in my dream. I'd wake up and I'd have this whole thing rolling around in my head that I just couldn't get out of my head till I sat down and wrote it down. And so for about 5 years, I just kept writing things down whenever they popped in my head. And then I finally had a time and an opportunity to work on the book. And I took all those scraps of paper and said, okay, God, now how do I organize these? And what came out of it was, see if I can hold this up, God can calm the chaos. Now, does that mean that when God comes into your life, all of a sudden you'll have peace and no problems and life will just be hunky-dory? No, you're still going to have all the same problems that happen in life, but you're going to have a whole new set of tools to work with. You're going to have self-worth. You're going to have forgiveness under your belt. You're not going to hold grudges any longer. And all those things, keep walls up between us and our loved ones. Another tool one of the tools that I use is this thing called, a God can. It literally is a can with a lid. And, oops, wait a minute, let me get it in. Inside the can are some cards that describe how to use the God can. And here's how it works. You start out with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So, and then it goes on to, and wisdom to know the difference. No, wait a minute. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So looking at it backwards, first you're asking him to give you the wisdom. Okay, is this something I can change, or is this something I just have to accept? If you can change it, then you need to take some action. And you ask God, how am I going to do this? Give me some tools. Help me to know what to do, what to say. But if it's something you just have to accept, it's one of those things you know, you can't change who your mom is. You can't change, you know, who your children are. And sometimes it gets to be more than what we can deal with. And so what we do is we say, okay, rather than being frustrated and angry at this person, I'm going to recognize that I can't change that person. And I'm going to write it down. I'm going to say, my mother is who she is. I have set some boundaries and I'm going to stick to those, but I can't do it on my own. I can't do it, but God can. And you put the piece of paper in the God can, and if you can hear this, put the lid on. Leave it there. So the things that you can take charge of, take some action. The things that you have to just accept. There are many things in life that frustrate us because we can't fix them. Put them in the God can. It's easy in the head to say, okay, God, I just give it to you. But for me, every time I would do that, I'd take it back. Give it away, take it back. Give it away, take it back. And so that just didn't work for me. But writing it down takes it out of you, puts it on a piece of paper, and then you put it in that can with the lid on. And it's amazing the relief, the flood of relief that you feel as you release that to God. And He will fill you with His peace in the midst of that. Now, one of the other tools that I know a lot of military use are service dogs. And I too have a service dog. Let me see if I can, he's just napping right now.
Yes, you had your baby with you when we met.
Can you say hi, Max? I can't even see what I'm doing. There you are. Hey, Max, say hi. Good boy. Max is a yellow lab. And it's funny how, you know, God puts us in situations a lot where we don't even understand why we're doing what we're doing, but He uses it to good. Somewhere along the line in my therapy, I just got tired of working on myself. I just, you know, it's like I felt like I had come, you know, a great deal of distance, but I just was tired, you know, tired of working on me. And I was at a soccer game one day, and I saw this lady with a little dog with a cute little bib on, and the bib said guide dog in training. And so I went and talked to her, and I said, oh yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do next. I want to train guide dogs for the blind. And so I applied, I got a dog, and my first dog was Cochise. And somewhere around 6 months with him, all of a sudden, my dreams went away. I said to my husband, I said, I haven't woken up in a sweat in a long time. And he said, no, you haven't. And I said, do you think it could be because of the dog? What else? Nothing else has changed. And he said, well, I suppose it could be. So, you know, we finished with him. We gave him back. He became a guide dog for the blind. I went on to the second dog, which was Kiva. I mean, not Kiva, I'm sorry, Zuni. And Zuni, again, somewhere around 6 months with him, and my paranoia went away. I used to, like if I was out shopping, I couldn't get to my car fast enough without feeling like someone was going to get me, you know? And I couldn't get the key in the door fast enough. The minute I'd get into the car, I'd feel like someone was in the back seat and going to get me. I'd start driving home and I'd swear someone was following me. To the front door, I couldn't get the key in fast enough. Then once inside, I couldn't feel safe till I checked every single nook and cranny to make sure there was nobody hiding. I was emotionally distraught with that. I just wanted to not go out anymore because it was just too much hassle, too much emotions. And so partway through with Zuni, that paranoia went away. I went on to dog 3 and dog 4, and then dog 5 was Kiva. And Kiva would, I think even at 4 months he was doing this. He would come up and just start pawing at my leg. And of course, he's a puppy. I just figured he wanted attention or he needed to go outside. But my husband started noticing that whenever he did that, about 30 minutes later, I'd have a panic attack. So we started paying attention to that. And sure enough, I talked to my therapist about it. And he said, well, you need to keep this one for yourself then. And I said, well, I don't have that option. When we take on a guide dog puppy, we sign a contract that we'll give them back. Otherwise, everyone would fall in love with them and nobody would give them back. So I gave him back when I was supposed to. And they called me a week later and said, Sherry, we're so sorry, but Kiva is not going to be able to be a guide dog. He has cataracts. You can't have the blind leading the blind. So I said, gee, that's too bad. I'll keep him. And he became my PTSD dog. And it was such a miracle. So, I mean, through this dog program that I thought I was doing for someone else, I ended up being the benefactor of losing my dreams, losing the paranoia, losing the panic attacks. I look at my life today and I can't even imagine who that girl was 20 years ago. Of course, I wasn't exactly a girl. I'm pretty old. But anyway, it's hard for me to imagine that. But it's good for me to remember because I want to help others. I teach a class based on my book through my church. And we study the 12 steps and I teach them different tools. I think I've got about 30 tools in my book that can be used to help getting to the core of a problem, that can be used to help get to the point of forgiveness. And I'm blessed, truly blessed in my life and truly blessed with the ministry that God has given me. And my family and my friends have all encouraged me down this road. And just the other day, I got a text from one of the gals in my class. And she said, Sherry, I just want to thank you so much for that gift of speed writing, which is one of the tools that I describe. She said she had an attack, kind of like a panic attack, the night before, and that she has never been able to get past those attacks in less than an hour. And she said, I tried the speed writing that you talked about. And she said, 5 minutes later, I was out the other side. And that just touched my heart, made me feel, okay, yes, something's working. And so that's kind of my story.
It's your journey.
My journey.
It's so wonderful to get that feedback when we know that the work that we're doing is actually getting through, that is helping people. So I do want to let people know, again, show your book and tell them where they can get it or where they can get a hold of you if they're in your area to join your group.
So the book is called God Can Calm the Chaos, and it's available under that exact name on Amazon.com. And also for sale on Amazon is the God Can. And that one you need to type in God Can Calm the Chaos. And it will bring you to that as well. My website is www.AuntSherry'sGodCan.com. And I have on there a lot of these same tools and a lot of I have devotions posted on there that are helpful. I have them set up by subject matter. So, if you're looking for something in the area of contentment, or if you're looking for something in the area of forgiveness, you can go to those devotions on my website.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you here today, and I love what you're doing, and I hope some of our listeners, some of our audience find you are the person that they needed to connect with, and you will inspire them to take the step forward to reach out and to get the help that they need.
Yes,
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you guys so much for being with us today. If you support our program and you would like to continue us being able to do it for you on a regular basis, there is, if you're watching this on Anchor, there is a button, support this podcast. If you are not watching this on Anchor, but you would still like to support us, go to the website battle2be.org that is listed right up there above my shoulder. And you can see BATTLE, the number 2, BE.org. There is a donate button right on that first front page. And we cannot do this work without you. We are a community 501c3 nonprofit organization, so we do not receive federal grant money at this point yet. In a few years, we're hoping so. But right now, we completely depend on viewers like you and on the support of our communities to keep the work that we're doing going strong. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week for our season 4, episode 3, Rise Up, Ignite Your Life, Voices from the Frontline. My name is Krista Fee, and I am your host, and we will see you again next week.